Well, Carly Beth hesitated. Everything is fine now, Mum. Perfectly fine. But, before she could say another word, Noah burst into the room. Hey, Carly Beth, he called in a deep, raspy voice. Look at me. How do I look in your mask? Hey guys, Bjorn here again, Goosebumps #1 Aussie fan, bringing you another book review. So I've just finished up reading up The Haunted Mask. It is definitely one of the most amazing Goosebumps books. I forgot how good it was. I haven't read this one in a while. And I honestly forgot how good it actually is. It is definitely one of the most creepiest and amazing Goosebumps stories ever told. So I've just finished up reading and let's get started, shall we? So the story is about this young girl named Carly Beth, who is always being tormented by these two guys, Chuck and Steve. You see, Carly Beth is like really easily scared, so they're always like taking advantage of her. She's like a prime target. But one day she decides she wants to get even and seek revenge on Chuck and Steve. She comes home from school one day and finds this plaster of Paris head that her mum made, and it looks exactly like Carly Beth. Her mum made it as a symbol of love for her daughter. But of course, she also finds that really silly duck costume that her mum made. She obviously is not going to wear the duck costume because she wants to try and get revenge on Chuck and Steve. So instead, on the day of Halloween, she rounds up her money and heads over to the costume shop. But when she gets there, it's closed. But the store owner still decides to allow her entry so she can make a purchase. When she gets inside, she of course finds the back room with all the haunted masks inside. She obviously really wants to get one of the masks, as it would be perfect to get back at Chuck and Steve. But the store owner refuses to sell her one of the masks, so as we all know, she steals it and runs off and throws the money at him. Carly Beth then decides to put on the mask and scare her brother with it, but when she decides to take it off, it becomes a bit of a struggle. Eventually the mask does come off, and the brother is confused as to how she was able to change her voice in that throaty sort of growl. She doesn't really know herself how she did it, but insists that she likes it. Carly Beth then puts the mask back on in front of the mirror, and it sort of wraps itself tight around her head. She then picks up the plaster Paris head of herself and heads over to Sabrina's house. But along the way, that's when strange things start happening. She begins acting like a completely different person, scaring kids, vandalizing property, etc., etc. Because as we all know, the mask starts taking a hold of her. She eventually finds Chuck and Steve and scares them out of their wits, but is shocked when she realizes that the Paris plaster head of herself starts talking, asking Chuck and Steve, "Help me, help me." Carly Beth then abandons the plaster head of herself and heads over to Sabrina's house. When she gets there, she tries to take off the mask, but because she had already put it on a few times, it won't come off. Sabrina even tries helping her, but nothing seems to work. This is when they make the shocking discovery that there is no line to the mask. It has slowly been taking a hold of Carly Beth. She then looks in the mirror only to find that her eye color has completely changed to an orange, evil-like color, staring back at her. She then decides to make her way back over to the costume shop, hoping there is some way to get the mask off. But when Carly Beth gets there, the shopkeeper tells her that the mask is not really a mask, but it is a real face. He says that they were once beautiful faces, but then one day became ugly and hideous, and refers to them as the unloved ones. The shopkeeper then tells her the only way to defeat the evil of the mask is to find a symbol of love. But if the mask has been put on a third time, it can never be removed. She then begins to scream in terror when looking into the mirror once again, realizing that this could be her face forever. Her screaming then wakes up the other masks, and they begin to start floating around the room, heading for Carly Beth. She starts running down the street and notices them still following her. But then she remembers the Paris plaster head of herself that her mum had made, realizing it was a symbol of love from her mother. So she uses it to defeat the evil of the masks, and sure enough, it works. After the mask finally comes off, she runs off home to her mother, and as we read in the last paragraph, the little brother had put on the mask and, wasn't able to get it off. So yeah guys, it's basically the story of the Haunted Mask. It is definitely one of the greatest Goosebumps books ever. Scare factor I would definitely say is at least a minimum 9.5 out of 10. In fact, it's definitely a 10 out of 10 for scare factor. The situation that Carly Beth is in during this book, just imagine guys being in that situation, putting on a mask and then it starts taking over your body. Like, it is creepy as hell, man. This book is very, very well written, R.L.Stine. Definitely one of the greatest stories you have ever told. But overall, out of 10, I would say... 11 out of 10. Goosebumps approved. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all for this book review. I hope you enjoyed. The next one I will be doing, I believe, is The Scarecrow Walks at Midnight, and so on and so on. I've got so many piled up in my list now, but I finally got to do The Haunted Mask because a lot of you have been asking for it, so here it is. But yeah, guys, fantastic Goosebump book right here, and a marvelous episode, I must say as well. The episode it was the first episode actually, guys, the very first Goosebumps episode. Overall, it's a very good Goosebumps story, a very good characters, everything about it is fantastic. This is one of the holy grails of Goosebumps, guys, right here. So yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed this book review, and I'll see you again soon.